Hi, guys, welcome to the channel. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and that like button. Welcome to Academics Unscripted, a teach and go blog. Educate, learn, grow. Now, today we're going to do a deep dive into the trouble with education in America. And this is for people that want to be honest and want to be real about our issues in schools. So let's do this deep dive and consider all the issues that come into play in education in America. The first thing that I think is the cause, and that the data says is the cause, is family instability. Emotionally unstable people, domestic violence, mental health issues that are undiagnosed, financial instability, unavailable or neglectful parenting. Single parenting is more prevalent than in previous generations. Societal constraints, health issues, lack of community, all these things create family instability. Now, with the single parenting, I will say that in some cases, it is better to be a single parent. Some parents don't need access to their kids whatsoever. And we've all seen cases on the news where a parent was doing something to their child or was violent and things like that. Those kind of parents don't need access to their kids, period. But family instability overall has a negative and deleterious effect on kids, right? So family instability will bleed over onto the kids, which will bleed over into the school because you are who you're around, and you are who raises you and teaches you right from wrong, etc. So family instability, things like your parents not having a job, things like that can affect the child, right? So I think this is something that most people are aware of, but I think sometimes people forget that the way kids are at home and the way their home life is will certainly be evident at the school. How does family instability affect education? In a myriad of ways. You're going to have poorer academic outcomes in overall. Now, you do have some kids that are, the exception to the rule. They're very smart. They don't really need um, much intervention. They're very stable on their own, but that is a rare circumstance. Most kids need that strong parent there helping to instill values, right? So, food instability, things like that. An unstable family that's moving from here to there, parent doesn't really have what they need, that will affect the children, regardless of what some people may say. It has a severe effect on the kids. Um, if a parent has residential instability, they're living at their apartments, then they're living with their cousin, then they're living in a shelter, etc. And sometimes this stuff is unforeseeable. It sometimes a tornado comes through, tears your house up, or a relative dies, or a husband dies, and the mother is kind of floundering or on her own, or things like that, or even the father is an unexpected single father, his wife dies. Some of this can't be helped, but in most cases, it's just poor um, infrastructure, poor decisions being made, etc. It can cause the kids to have poor attachment. Why would they attach to people if they're going to be moving every other couple of months, etc.? Problem behaviors can be a consequence of that. Emotional and social instability can lead to, of course, domestic violence in the home. Community neighborhood violence is just as bad. Emotional disturbance, anger, and aggression in schools. We see this all the time in schools, all the time. The effects of what has happened at the house and the effects of what's going on in that neighborhood. Okay. It very much can either positively or negatively influence uh, how the teacher can conduct the classroom based on the students in the classroom, their behavior, their willingness to learn, and their ability to focus on learning. Lack of safety is a very big deal, and something that I know as an administrator and principal in the school, we focus on a lot of that. That is our number one priority, to make sure the school is safe. Lack of safety is caused by, of course, weak gun legislation, which has been the bane of our lives, the lack of mental health infrastructure, right? It makes the conditions perfect for more school shootings to occur. Schools weren't designed to be hardened external facilities, right? No one builds a school with the idea that, okay, it might be a school shooting. Let me make sure I make it a hardened facility. Like, no one thinks that. So, at least they didn't, I'm sure, when they were building it. Maybe now, but not in the recent past. And then, of course, school funding and laws limit severe or stringent interventions. A lot of people comment on, oh, why couldn't the school do this? Why couldn't they do that? And the fact is, they don't do their research and they don't know the laws. And a lot of people just don't know the laws in their area or what the school is allowed to do and not do. Public schools are run by the state. The state has parameters and rules for every one of those schools, and they have a limit to what you can and cannot do legally. And of course, there are federal laws that uh, prohibit a lot of the extreme actions you would like to take or that you feel you need to take to protect your school. And it's just not allowed, right? So, um, lack of safety is a very key issue in issues that we're going through in education in America. How does the lack of safety affect education? Of course, you're going to have more school shootings are likely. The worsened anxiety of students and, of course, social interactions. They taught us in a training once that students that are in the middle of a school shooting, that if the school is on lockdown from a shooting, the students literally will mentally and intellectually digress 2 grade levels below their actual grade level. So if there's a school shooting and you have seventh graders and you're giving them instructions on what to do, some of them will not understand what you're saying and they won't be able to process it because they're so afraid. They have literally went back 2 grade levels mentally. And if you think about it, adults do the same thing when they're in extreme fear. School infrastructure changes, school shortages, all of that is an ancillary effect of lack of school safety. People don't want to be around a school that is likely to be unsafe or that doesn't have the infrastructure that it needs. Then, of course, school infrastructure changes are needed. I know that after the Uvalde incident, and I do live in the state of Texas. After the Uvalde incident, we decided at the school I was at to stop using the portable buildings because the shooting occurred at Uvalde in a portable building area. So we stopped even using it completely. Other non-traditional academic options are becoming much more prevalent. Now, I do think this can be a good thing. It can be a good thing for some kids and I think for most kids, especially in the K through 12 area, unless the child is very focused and knows how to get a computer and use it well, they will not do well. Unfortunately, in most cases, I think that kids, the younger they are, the more likely they need direct teaching. I know that when we were working during the pandemic, we had kids that either didn't have access to the internet, or if they did have access to the internet, they didn't have a device, or if they had both. If they had a device and access to the internet, they had 5 or 6 people in the house using the same device, or the kids were babysitting, little brothers and sisters, parent was gone to work, and you could hear kids yelling in the background. I mean, you can't learn like that. A kid can't learn like that. But at the time, I'm sure the parents did the best that they could do. We also had situations where the kids didn't want to be on camera because you know they didn't want you to see their home, or they would aim the camera up at the wall. You didn't even know who the kid was watching. You didn't know if the kid was learning. I mean, it was just a wreck. We even had a situation where a parent was on camera partially nude. I mean, you really have to understand and know what you're doing when you're in online school. And a lot of the K through 12 kids have a difficult time. And we know that because the grades slipped severely during the pandemic. All you got to do is look at the stats, right? So let's continue. Lack of funding and inequity. Poor and low income area schools mean less access for the students. Lack of funding means schools can't offer certain programs or courses for students. And if the school is unable to update those older programs, it's because of lack of funding, right? So I've worked in wealthy districts and I've worked in extremely poor schools as well. And I'm telling you that it is very difficult. I know when I've taught various science courses, and you can't do labs with specimens or anything that costs money. And in the wealthier districts, we ordered frogs, right? We ordered frogs for a lab. Those frogs are 1,300 a piece. We have 700 students, and we have to take one frog for every 4 to 5 students. So you just think about the math that's needed for that, right? Think about how much that costs. Poor school districts and poor schools cannot afford that, let alone field trips or any of the amenities that would come with a wealthier district, which means the kids won't have access. They won't learn as more. You can't demonstrate things as much because you don't have the money. Another issue is that lack of fundings means that you can't offer certain courses. So if you have a school, a high school in a poor area, and you want to teach the kids in your neighborhood about the fundamentals of finance, you don't have the money to hire a teacher to teach that. That means you can't offer that course. So those kids will go without learning the fundamentals of finance. And it also means that the kids would have to sign up for the course. And if anyone needs fundamentals on finance, it would be the kids in the poorer areas so that they can know how to manage their money, how to build wealth, things like that. So it really can cause a lack of access for our kids. And that's an unequal education environment, something we don't want for our young people. Teacher shortages would be the next thing. That's another thing that's a severe problem in education in America today. Our veteran teachers are leaving in droves due to little pay, more job duties, the stress of it all. And also, I would also say that they're also leaving for other opportunities that are less stressful. The teaching profession is under extreme scrutiny, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. But when it turns into, I'm going to pick apart your lesson and what you're doing and how you're doing it, it can turn into a complete wreck, right? Because I think in most cases, most teachers are not there to win some popularity contest. They're there to deliver the content and get the kids what they need. Also, the teachers right now profession is in the crosshairs of political differences, which has a negative slant to it in a lot of time, in a lot of cases. And then, of course, student behavior, violence in the classroom, lack of teacher training, all those contribute to the teacher shortages. Teachers have gotten to a point where they just don't want to deal with the red tape and the drama of angry parents or kids that can't be reasoned with, things like that. Now, I don't think that, even though I know that teacher shortages is a severe problem, I think there are many things that come into play. It's not just the ones mentioned here. How do the teacher shortages affect education? Of course, they depress student achievement, right? You have vacancies, and then you have to fill those vacancies with people who are not certified. So most students, think back to when you had a substitute teacher in school. Once you saw that the sub was there, you were like, oh, okay, I'm going to have a chill day. And that's what a lot of the kids think. They're like, ooh, the substitute's there, great, I can get on my phone or I can do something else. A handful will do the work actually, but most of the kids in class will chill out and not really take the day seriously. And also, these teachers, the substitutes and novice teachers, uncertified people, are not do not usually know the content thoroughly enough to where they can teach it in a variety of different ways to a variety of kids in a classroom that have different issues going on. So that leads to lack of learning, unstable classrooms, because you need a strong teacher that can help decrease the disciplinary disruptions that will certainly occur. And then that means since you don't have the teachers there, you have a teacher shortage, you cannot offer the courses you would like to offer. If you don't have a teacher that can teach Spanish, they're certified in teaching Spanish, then you can't offer that course, right? So it severely affects our school education. How can we fix what is wrong with education in America? So, the number one thing is to support families and be the change you want to see in your own family. Now, I think this goes without saying. Most adults already know this, but if it wasn't an issue, it wouldn't keep happening, right? So, be positive with the kids in your family. I know you can't speak on every family member's kid, but your kids, your nieces and nephews, especially if these are people that you love and you talk to frequently and you have a relationship with, right? Being supportive, being positive, but also providing balance. And, you know, eh, I think that people are more receptive to kids, especially, are more receptive to what you have to say when you make the situation relatable. So I know that with my own students, when they're going through hard times, I tell them, you're not the only one that's been through a hard time. I've been through that same thing, child. Right? So you have to make them understand that, hey, we are all human. We all make dumb decisions. We all make mistakes. Not with this, holier than thou. I've never done anything wrong. How dare you do that? Now, some things are pretty extreme that the kids might do, right? So, but in most situations, that's not the case. Being supportive of families is the number one start there. The next thing is community involvement. Involve yourself in the community. Take something to the shelter. Send over old clothes that are reasonable and aren't worn out, and socks and books and pencils, right? Anything. Go to the Boys and Girls Club and provide. And it's not, you know, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. And I think we need to get back to not being afraid to give to others and be willing to give to others. Public service. Now, if you want to do more, of course, go out, do some coaching for the kids. If you know a sport really well, run for a public office, run for school board, so that you can change how our education system is going. And then finally, voting for officials who care about education. The key word there is care about education, not people who strut from one press conference to another talking about what they're going to do and they need donors. But no, people that have a track record of proving that they have been working in the educational field and love education and care about the kids in their community, right? So all of these things can help manage and quell a lot of the issues that we are having, and it starts at the local level. Thank you guys for coming to Academics Unscripted, a Teach and Go blog. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and check out our description box for all our videos and resources that go with a lot of our science and math videos. Educate, learn, grow. Bye bye, guys. Have a great day.